Hey folks, how's it going? It's Tim, and this time I'm doing a review on a bass mod for the AKG Q701. So I recently picked this up from the mass drop deal that concluded and got it for a very good price. I've been eyeing this for quite a while. So I caught the headphone bug probably at the beginning of this year. I mean, I've always been into music and whatnot, but I've been taking a year-long Bible study course, so I've been wanting to find something to listen while on the go. I mean, this is not that headphone, okay? This is just a by-result of doing too much research, but the main headphones I've been using has been a Jaybirds Blue Buds X, as well as I recently picked up this nifty little pair. It's a Logitech Japan-only model that was imported. Bought it off of one of those Japanese importers on Amazon. This is the LBT HPC30, and the main reason why I got these was, I just wanted to check out different, I guess, Bluetooth earbuds, and this particular one featured aptX and was for a very reasonable price. I think it was like $30, including the shipping and handling from Japan. Took under a month to get here. They're okay. They're a bit more warm than I'm accustomed to. I guess I'm just really used to the Blue Buds X sound profile by now, but I suppose if you're a fan of the warm tones, you would probably like these very much. But overall, though, the bass is a little bit less than the Blue Buds X. Treble is just about there on par. So, but overall, I still like the sound profile of the Blue Buds X. So that is my daily wear. Now, in terms of this was really more for like a at-home, just letting loose and just really be able to enjoy music or whatever else I may be listening to. And I actually found, at first I thought, like, because the bass was a little bit lacking, again, subjectively, that's my personal taste, I thought that I wouldn't enjoy it with movies. But apparently while watching Crossbones and listening to the movie, or I should say the drama soundtrack, it was actually quite good. The bass, while yes, it's not as deep as certain other headphones, and by comparison, I'm talking about, like, say, Philips Fidelio X1 that I borrowed from a friend, as well as, like, say, maybe even a ATH M50, or my personal favorites, which are the Matrix AF62s from Me Electronics. Yes, the bass isn't quite on the same level, but it's a different quality, though. It's extremely articulate, it's extremely tight, and I just can't explain it, but I think when listening to that soundtrack on Crossbones, that's where it really came through. That I was just like, wow, that just sounds absolutely amazing. So, but in the end, still, I wanted just a little bit more oomph, so I decided to go ahead with the bass mod. Now, I know a lot of people, there's a great running thread on it. There's many walkthroughs on the internet about it, but they've pretty much always been picture. I actually haven't been able to find a video. I mean, if there is, point me to it, but I figure, hey, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video probably could top that, right? So there's always been some confusion as how you go about that bass mod. So again, apologies for the blabbering at the beginning, but without further ado, here you go. So the first step you want to do is get your tools ready, right? So I actually ended up using a watchmaker's tool. I shouldn't say watchmaker's tool, but this is really the tool for the push pins on when you replace watch bands, and then a thumbtack. But I guess, people have been pretty much using thumbtacks, whatever. Now, this is really difficult to do, obviously standing in front of the camera. I don't have the balance of the leverage, so I've actually already disassembled this, but I'm just going to point out, like, pretty much where you should probably be inserting this. So there are 3 prongs that attaches this plastic clip onto the white cap here, and looks, like a metal mesh grill, but this is actually a pretty reasonably durable plastic. So you stick in one end. The reason why I'm telling you to put it right near the Q is because that's where one of the prongs is that attaches to this white cap here. So probably we'll insert one here, insert the other end exactly about 180 degrees, straight line down here. Give it a counterclockwise twist. It shouldn't have to travel much. Maybe travels like maybe less than 1/4 of an inch, and then you should probably hear a small click, and then you would lift it up. Once that's done, it would give you access to 2 screws that lay under here. Now, these screws are really tiny, so be careful with them. I used one of my favorite little tools here, Husky, with a PH1 tip, Phillips tip, and got those 2 screws off. Then once that is off, you're going to remove this plastic cap. Now, there are 2 prongs here, plastic prongs here, that you could probably depress. So what I would recommend is probably, wiggling it one end first, get that end out, then get the other end out. So that's one end. And there is the other. Now, once I got to this point, it just would not remove. So I was just like, So looking over it very carefully to see what might be holding on to it, because I was afraid I might be breaking off a plastic tip. At first, I thought maybe there was another prong up here, and that's what was getting jammed. But apparently, it turns out that it's these two grooves that attach very snugly to the headband, right? So what you want to do is take your thumb, push on the edge here until you hear clip off, and you would just get that off. You see that? Okay, then you're going to do the same for the other side. And there you go. That removes the entire thing. So, hold on, let me get the lighting corrected here. So here's a close-up of the sticker that is already removed that is covering the port. So as you could probably likely see here, that's the residual of the stickiness from under on the bottom side of the sticker, which is attached to X-Acto blade. So I use that to just gently, because that's one of the thinnest things that I have, to just gently go around the circumference of this entire little sticker and then to lift it up slowly. It is reasonably durable, but obviously X-Acto blade is super sharp, so be extra careful there. But once you get it pretty much removed, grab a tweezer, squeeze it and yank it out, and that's it. That's the port that you're opening to for the base port mod. Now I would recommend that if you do want to put this back in the future, to save this inside a plastic bag or something, so keep it safe, so in case you figure that the base port pilot's not for you, you could apply this back on. Now getting back to that plastic cover, the initial Grille disassembly, so the three prongs that I mentioned, as you could probably see right there, there's a little white plastic hump that's molded that this black thing goes over. So now, of course, I'm going counterclockwise, but on the reverse end, so that means I'm actually installing it, and you heard that little snap. So that's the equivalent of you turning it clockwise and snapping it into place. Initial disassembly is if you were turning it counterclockwise this way, and it will be a clockwise motion now. That would release it, and then you would just simply push it up. Right underneath here is some type of, I guess, cellulose foam, or I'm not really sure what kind of foam this is, but I don't know its purpose. I don't know if it changes the acoustic properties. I imagine it does slightly, but to be honest with you, I was just listening it for a while after I modded it with this assembly off, and I didn't really hear that big a difference in the sound signature. Of course, I may not have the most trained ears in the world, so obviously take that with a huge grain of salt, but in the end, was this mod worth it for me personally? I don't really know, because I guess I didn't listen to this for that long without the mod, so I can't really say I hear a huge difference. I do hear a slight difference, and so far I've only modded the right side. I intentionally did that, well, because first of all, I've read that the left side is a little bit more difficult because you do have the mini XLR jack here. You have to be super careful about this side, so I didn't get to this side yet. But the reason why I didn't change that side yet also was because I just wanted to hear for myself, can I really discern the difference between a side that's modded and a side that isn't, right? So I would switch around back and forth, listen to the modded side with my left ear or put it back on the right ear. But to be honest with you, I can't really discern a huge difference. Maybe there's a very, very subtle difference in the sub bass where it's probably a little bit more pronounced. But when I say more pronounced, again, very, very subtle. So is it worth it? Yeah, sure. You know what? If you have the time to spare and you want to give this a shot yourself, by all means, go ahead. I figure it is worth it. Now, before I wrap up this video, I did want to highlight one thing about the reassembly. So reassembly is just reverse steps once you got that off, right? One thing I did want to highlight is these two wires here. You got to be super careful of it. If you had a cold solder joint, what that simply means is during solder, either the wires shifted or whatnot, then it's not a good solder joint. It would be pretty brittle, so you want to be very careful about these wires. But another reason to take extra caution with these wires is because it actually can interfere with this going back on right over here. So you would probably want to be, again, just a little bit cognizant, gently push it up a little bit out of the way so that when you're snapping on, just double check that you're not pinching the wire or catching it as you're reassembling this. So again, reassembly is just reverse order. Snap these two back on first, put these two prongs back in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Snap one side down, snap the other side down, and it's already pretty much in the groove, so get that on. You would put the two screws back in there, then you would get the Grille cover, put it into the hose here, and then just give it a less than a quarter of a turn, sorry, less than a quarter inch of a turn. clockwise, and that's it. You're done. So getting off the Bass Mod for just a second, you may have noticed that I tie wrapped the headband. A common complaint has been these grooves on the bottom of the headband really gives a headache. I have never been a huge fan of this headband style. I find it just applies a lot of pressure on the head. You know, it's been the case with the Pendulumic S1s that I got a while back ago. That's these right here. So this has a much lesser pressure, but even so, I mean, your finger pushing on it is much different than it pushing down on your head. That pressure that it creates is kind of like, you know what? I bet the majority of us never realize just how sensitive our body is until we start trying out all different kinds of headphones, be it the pressure being clamping on the side of your head, or this headband pushing down on the top, or a regular headphone with, you know, one of the standard headband pushing down that pressure. Again, you probably never realize how sensitive your head is or your ears are until you started trying out all different kinds of headphones. Anyway, some people have been saying, you know, get one of those child seat belts, and you can put child seat belt covers to wrap it around here. My solution for now is just to tie wrap it so that it does, you know, it pulls it off of my head, and the clamping pressure is actually decent. So this just rests on top of my head without giving me a headache. So maybe something to try. Not the most elegant solution, obviously, but not the end of the world. I'm not going to walk around the street with these anyway. They're ridiculously big on my head. So this was really meant for at-home use, so I think it actually works out pretty well for me in that case. For full disclosure, I purchased the AKG Q701 off of massdrop.com. I have no affiliation with them. I'm just a customer who enjoy the rewards of their mass drops. Obviously, they're in it for, you know, profit as well, but still, it's great that I was able to get this for, I think, what was it, around 160 or so from the drop. So normally, I think these retail for 200. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching.